Life gets ill, homie, we got bills. More than one kid, a boss we could kill. Aches and pains all hurt, we take pills. Dennis gotta use a drink.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to PodCats, the podcast. Today's episode is the PotCast because we are talking about whether or not it's a good idea to open a marijuana dispensary here in Los Gatos. We've had some great conversations so far. We could have gone on for a lot longer than we did, but we got to keep things moving because we want to keep people on. But now we've got Chris Lane sitting across from me, who is the Chief Marketing Officer for Airfield Supply Company. I nailed it that time, right?
Yeah.
And Airfield Supply Company is a dispensary downtown. Is that also accurate?
Yeah, in San Jose. We're not in downtown San Jose. We're off Coleman Avenue.
Off Coleman Avenue, in San Jose. Okay. And you've been sitting in the studio here, listening to the entire conversation, and you know all the arguments. You're kind of the face of Airfield Supply Company, and you guys maybe have designs or ambitions to open a retail store here in Los Gatos. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, Los Gatos is a place. Airfield Supply Company. The founder, CEO, is from Los Gatos. Myself, I'm an executive there. My wife's from Los Gatos. We have a lot of ties to the town. Obviously, we're a very close business that already does quite a lot of volume with Los Gatos residents. So we really are here as a resource. We know the town has obviously been considering it. We have a lot of communication with the town. We've had the chance to tour several council members, been a part of several conversations. So for us, it's really about, if Los Gatos is considering it, we're happy to help be, involved, education, guiding light, sounding board for anything. And obviously if Los Gatos is considering moving on it, I think it's a location that we think we already are highly engaged in the town in, so we'd be interested in, but certainly we're not pushing actively opening one tomorrow kind of thing. So it's a process, of course.
Sure. But you think that there's money to be made is kind of the end result is that there's a market here that's untapped as of yet, and that there's money for Airfield Supply Company to tap into here.
Yeah, I mean, we think it's a town we already do business in, quite a bit of business. In fact, seven-figure revenues already out of thousands of customers. I think when we ran the math recently in 2021, if you subtract out individuals under the age of 21, 1 in 7, 1 in 8 Los Gatos residents already is a current customer of Airfield Supply Company.
Let's just repeat that again. People age 21 and over, 1 in 7 of those people are shopping at Airfield Supply Company.
Yeah, or did in 2021.
In Los Gatos.
That is that's the data that we have in our system.
Or
at least an individual who registers a Los Gatos address. It's obviously can be impossible. That could be kids who move to San Jose or something like that. But statistically, I think we had over 2,000 discrete customers coming from Los Gatos in 2021.
Wow.
2,000 customers, and those are
2024, if I remember.
And they might have been visiting your store one time. They might have been repeat customers.
Yeah,
2,000.
about 1.2 million in gross revenue.
1.2
out of
million
Los Gatos already in 2021.
Okay, well, you're firing these numbers off, and I want to just make sure I absorb them. No, I just want to make sure I get them. $1.2 million in revenue just from people in Los Gatos.
Correct. Yeah, between delivery, pickup, and in-store shopping.
And so, that seems like a reasonable amount of money. Yeah. And what's the balance then? Like, how much do you make from? Let's say, can you tell me what the numbers are from San Jose?
We're a private company, so we don't talk like full numbers, but that represents a small, meaningful chunk of the business. I mean, that's not 10%, 5% kind of thing, but we do, as we said, we do about anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 is about the average customer counts per day right now. Transactions. Per day? Yeah, per day. So pre-pandemic, that was about 1,500 to 2,000.
That came up before. 1,000 to 1,500, right?
Yes.
So it was claimed that those people are going in person to your store.
Yeah, it's total transactions. So
online,
we could be seeing online.
Do you guys deliver?
Online pickup, we do delivery.
Okay.
We deliver in Teslas. We believe in sustainability.
Okay.
Gotta get it in on a Los Gatos podcast.
Are they wrapped? Are the Teslas wrapped?
No. They have to be discreet.
Oh, okay.
The compliance is a huge piece. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But
wait a second. Compliance tells you can't wrap your cars?
Yeah. They have to be unmarked. Yeah. Unmarked, secured storage, badge driver.
Young's Market gets to deliver with big advertisements for alcohol on the side of their vans.
Industry. Cannabis is probably one of the most regulated industries.
George Clooney on the side of trucks selling tequila.
He's highly efficient at that.
Point, yeah.
Yeah.
So you just had an opening of a store in Redwood City, right?
We are not open yet, but we just won the license for there. So there was a competitive license application process.
Okay.
Where I think 28 businesses submitted proposals for it. It took about 14 months for us, and they selected at the end 4 out of that.
What city is this?
Redwood City.
Okay.
So are they having, or did you go through like a series of workshops like this and podcasts and everything? Really, same thing.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of people there who were upset about the fact that it might happen.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there were a lot of people that were upset. In fact, in that town, there were several public meetings. And I, in fact, was just in Redwood City yesterday and having a bunch of meetings there. And we were talking about it that, at a lot of the public forums, really no one showed up opposing it, which, and inevitably there's always, obviously, there's going to be opposition and support for anything. But the process, typically it's a fairly lengthy process given the nature of it. I mean, with Redwood City specifically, I think we actually toured the mayor of Redwood City and some people from the city staff in 2017, and that kind of was a part of the beginning of their process. And then they went through, an ordinance, consultation, community workshops, and then ultimately to the competitive license application process, which is a 3-phase process. In fact, a written application, 300 pages, business proposals, pro formas, banking, all the various different criteria that get scored. In a written portion, then there's actually an interview portion, or even before this, there's like a completeness portion. Then written portion, then interview portion. To get there, I mean, it took years. Frankly, cost the city a lot of money.
Well, but hopefully, the idea is they're going to make that back up, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it costs them money.
Over the course of that, you submit non-refundable application fees.
No, but they're going to make it up in the tax revenue.
Oh, of course, the city will. Yes.
So, will you hold your question? Can you remember what it is?
Yes.
You mentioned you threw in there banking in your proposal.
Yeah.
So we talked about that. Like this is an industry that doesn't allow you to do banking. Right?
It's not true, actually.
Oh.
We have FDIC insured banking. We have for years.
So you're able to make deposits.
Oh yeah.
Do you take credit cards?
We do not take credit cards currently. We do take debit cards, which is another kind of common misconception. Actually, only 50% of transactions are cash in this industry, which compared to a grocery store is really only about 20% more. About 20 to 30% in the average grocery store transaction is cash. So it's really not actually that different than most industries. And we have armored card services. Those cars are dropping it off at the Federal Reserve. It's FDIC insured banking.
Yeah.
Incredibly strict compliance protocols with those banks. Everything there. So that's a common thing that comes up a lot. It's a cash business. There's no banking. Those things are not really true. We actually have multiple banks that we've worked with for years.
Do you not take credit cards because of a company policy or because of a federal policy?
No, it's the companies that run the rails don't currently accept. For most of them, they don't accept cannabis. So rails, if you think of it as like a MasterCard, a Bank of America, those kind of things.
Okay. So
like
they won't process the transactions for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
interesting.
So that banking doesn't work. So
okay. Can you remember your question?
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
I remember my question. And it is, do you think that the town of Los Gatos is going about this the right way with the workshops they're having, or is there something that we're missing that we could be doing that would either speed the process along or open more avenues for other people to engage? I mean, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really complicated process. I mean, I think in its common, we see it in a lot of every city that goes through this. They need to find their way there. It's a new thing, right? Mm-hmm. There's elected officials that don't want to overstep. There's community members that are usually very vocal, either for or against, or totally neutral a lot of the times. And so I think, they're trying to go about it really methodically, which I think is a good thing. I think they want to engage the community, have the conversation, bring in experts, because frankly, there are very few experts in America, let alone California, let alone Northern California, that specialize in how to integrate cannabis into a community. So I think it's always smart to go about it by really engaging deeply. I mean, rushing into it is not the right decision. Figuring out the right way to build a framework. There's obviously a lot of different ways you can go about it too as well. You can go about it from a competitive process like we were talking about. There's zoning ways that have gone, which is actually what San Jose did back in 2015. It was a zoning driven process. So if you could find a location, you met the criteria, you could get a license
inside one of these zones.
Inside one of these zones, specifically zone property, in a zone and all those kind of things. You can go about it in a lottery process, which you've seen in the East Bay, which has pros and cons. You have people, you can do it from a development agreement approach. I think there's a lot of different ways that you can go about the actual mechanism of sort of granting the license or creating that framework. But I think, being methodical is important. I think being super engaged with the community. Los Gatos is, if I remember the numbers correctly, voted almost 62% in favor of Proposition 64, which was the Adult Use Act. prop for legalizing cannabis in California at adult level.
Legalizing medical or
No,
recreational?
adult. So
Adult.
so adult use cannabis is sort of the technical term. Recreational isn't really, same thing, but as a colloquialism, it's adult use. That's what was legalized. Recreation.
I love
And that was
I
in
love that.
2016.
Yeah.
Yeah,
About
in 2018.
So adult use is recreational use.
Adult use,
They're
recreational.
synonymous.
Yeah, synonymous. And so,
Okay.
62%, I believe that was actually the fifth highest in Santa Clara County. Evan approval rating. I think Santa Clara County in general was, I want to say 58%. Don't totally quote me. I'm sure we can get a fact checker like Sports Center.
Oh,
great,
yeah.
But,
I'll see if I
think
got
so.
my
But
fact
I think it
checker
was
online here.
58%. And I think the state in general was, I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but
Okay.
even lower than that, 56, something like that.
Okay.
54. So Los Gatos is predominantly has shown over the courses. I mean, that was 6 years ago too, that they're in favor of cannabis. I mean, cannabis is legal in Los Gatos. The discussion obviously is about the sale of cannabis in Los Gatos, which I think is the thing. So I think the town, I mean, they need to make sure they're going about it the right way, engaging the right people and being really thorough, because it is something, but it's something that also is happening here. And obviously, I'm sure we'll talk about it. There's a lot of different reasons that people can go to it, whether it's that vote. And, I think you said it earlier from a perspective of people's rights and what they choose. I mean, the vote was predominantly for it, whether it's the revenue conversation. I mean, again, if we're already doing seven figures here, that's significant economic leakage to any community.
Yeah.
Especially to this one. I mean, and obviously we know Los Gatos is working hard on improving their finances. So I mean, there's that. There's safe access is a huge conversation, and
People want to be able to get their weed not on the street.
Yeah, and in fact,
and you said something just now that Los Gatos needs the revenue. Did you say that, or once the?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hear it in town council meetings. Obviously, exploring new routes of revenue. I think Mayor Rennie said it as one of his 4 major priorities, and is
exploring new avenues of revenue.
Yeah. I think he said
but when we went around the town asking people about this, they said that Los Gatos doesn't need money, so why would they do this? Los Gatos doesn't need money.
I think that is a perception out there.
I think everybody needs money.
Yeah. I think I saw an article that said there's a projection of like a $10 million debt in the budget, or
for
$10
Los
million
Gatos?
deficit for Los Gatos in the next couple of years.
I don't know.
I may be wrong on that, but I know there's
I mean, the
some
5-year forecast is not as rosy as we'd like
Yeah,
it
of
to
course.
be. So
And
certainly they are actively looking for other sources of revenue.
Retail is having, ongoing troubles with online sales, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's a whole slew of problems. The car dealerships are gone for the most part, and we're not getting revenue from that. Tourism, has been down through COVID and is vulnerable to future problems like COVID.
Right.
Right? I mean, so there's maybe a consistent, reliable revenue stream here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we conservatively project somewhere between probably $500 and $1 million of revenue for the city.
Tax revenue that goes directly to Los Gatos?
Yeah. I mean, I
Say
think
the number
tax
again?
revenue. I mean, I think if we're our expectation. I mean, Los Gatos strategically, San Jose is a regional draw. We're right next to the airport, soccer stadiums, major, work commerce centers. So we see a lot of. I know we were talking about stats earlier, but those numbers pre-COVID, 350, 450 new people a day. That number now is more like 100 to 200 new customers a day. But still within that, and most of that is travel traffic and office traffic and events and those kind of things that are slowly coming back, and continue to see it. But Los Gatos, I think, will serve a different market. I think if we're looking at 300 or so customers a day with about an average ticket price of $75 on average, give or take somewhere around ours, a little bit lower, but just conservatively. I think that's $5 million in revenue.
Yeah, I could do
the math wrong. Yeah, but and so off of that, the way that we haven't talked taxes, but cannabis is incredibly taxed. So there's state tax, there's excise tax, there's local city tax, sin tax, as some people call it. So there's multiple things.
Sin, like Sin City.
Yeah,
I just want people to know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Sin tax.
And so through those, I mean, there's multiple revenue streams between sales tax and the actual cannabis tax, that whether that comes from an ordinance and passes that way, which the people would have to vote for, or whether that comes from some other route of getting there, that's a significant portion. I mean, say that tax is 4% here. We're talking, what's Los Gatos sales tax? 9.25. 9.25 plus 4, so 13.25% of $5 million.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I just wanted to I know we're not supposed to get moral. You've told me I can't get moral on the show.
You can get as moral as you want. It's our show. You can do whatever you please.
But so I was curious, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the Midwest.
Okay.
St. Louis, Missouri.
And do you in St. Louis?
In St. Louis, right outside of the city.
Okay.
Suburbs, kind of similar to here, actually.
And do you think that your town right now would be struggling with, grappling with this topic as well?
Yeah. Missouri is actually going through a similar process. I'm not super close to what's happening exactly there, but I believe they're medically approved and they're moving towards it. But I think any town has this, and I do think there's a difference between a lively discussion and debate and a struggle. And I do think those are one of the things, and I think that's why we always are very open to have conversations like this, where you can get a room with people and you don't know, maybe they're for it, maybe they're against it. We really don't know. Like our role and our sort of commitment as a community member is to try to help guide some of these conversations with facts and with information and with expertise from what we've done. We've been operating for 12 years, legally, and we're one of the oldest in Silicon Valley. We have, commendations from the State Assembly of California. We've got a laundry list of things we can talk about of why we're comfortable doing these things. But ultimately, it's because the conversation is really important. It's really important for people to talk about it. My in-laws live in Los Gatos. They've lived here for, 60 years probably. They've owned a restaurant in town for 50 plus years, or almost 50 years. And we have this conversation every night. I spend 1 or 2 nights a week in Los Gatos down here working out of our office. And so I was chatting with them last night about this. And that discussion, that debate, that topic is really important, because people should want to feel good about a decision. You never want to feel rushed into it. You want to feel heard. But ultimately, it should be driven by facts, and it should be driven by intelligent decision making for what's best for the town, whatever that means.
You can't go anywhere, I would imagine, without talking about this. This must be your conversation everywhere you go. They're like, "Oh, you sell weed," and everyone's got it.
It's I joke with my wife about, I have 2 small kids. I have a kindergartner and a 3-year-old, and so our son just started kindergarten this year, and you meet all the new parents, and inevitably anyone asks, and it's just
can't wait for career day.
right, yeah. So it's but then what? Normally the topic, I think it's usually, oh, you do what? Yeah, this, and then it's, oh, you know what I love? Sleep gummies. You know what I love? This.
Yeah,
Gosh,
yeah.
I did in high school, but I don't now. Like, how is it different? Like, people are naturally curious. And I think that's a good thing. Whether you're for or against it, I think it's great. But yeah, I mean, it's a topic of conversation.
So I have to ask,
to not talk about it unless someone brings it up.
I have to ask, what do your mom and dad think about you being the CMO of a pot company?
So my parents are both psychologists. So I can tell you, my dad my mom's a marriage and family specialist. My dad is a autism specialist, but also both of them have addiction specialists as a part of their backgrounds. And so we talk about this all the time. Obviously, I've worked at this company. I've been a consultant for about 8 years now. I've been full-time a little over 3 years. I came from consumer technology and the advertising industry before that. So I talk about it with my mom all the time. Obviously, when I first got into it, she had lots of questions. I think, and this really probably goes back to a lot of what we were just talking about, the topic of conversation and why it strikes a chord. With my mom, what really not really changed her tune. I think she's always been supportive of who I am and what I like to do. I mean, I went to school right outside Los Gatos. I went to Santa Clara. I studied fine art, painting. Like, I was a painter in college.
Wow.
Like, it's not it's throughout plus advertising, and you'll combine them together and go work in Silicon Valley. But for my mom, what really sort of opened up the conversation stream a lot was, I have a relative who has very severe epilepsy, and nothing was working. They tried all sorts of different things. I mean, seizures all over, really debilitating for her life and everything. And cannabis butter cookies was one of the few things that has helped her epilepsy truly sort of be able to maintain check. Now she has a job. She can't drive. But she can take a bus to work and feel confident. She's not going to have a seizure on a bus. She can work a job, and that is purely because of that. And I'll never forget the first time I got a text from my mom, who was always supportive. And and we talk about it a lot. There's articles on the internet about it. I did one with Santa Clara, really, because they're like, oh, we would profile you. We work right across the street from there, and they're like, can we talk to your mom? It's like, yeah, sure. But it's when it hits home. Yeah. When it changes. I think there was another person earlier that was talking about that. It's powerful. It's not to say it's the answer for everyone or it's the answer for anyone. And we obviously don't make medical claims. We are not doctors. We're not physicians. Like, our job is to not prescribe or tell you what an intended effect could be. But there are people who have had good benefits from it. There are people who use it to help relax, to de-stress, to do, to feel more creative, all sorts of different things. So for us, it's about It's about enabling the opportunity.
Hey everybody, I want to say thank you so much for tuning into PodCats. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen or watch. I'm down here at the Hardcore Barber in Los Gatos, and just want to take a second to give a shout out to our sponsors and our supporters. First of all, I want to say thank you to K-Cat for having us down, for recording the show, for helping us with all the technical stuff. K-Cat has been absolutely amazing. Secondly, I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce has been a huge supporter. They've also sponsored the show, and so we want to just tell you that they're doing an amazing job. If you're not involved with the Chamber, you should be. Thirdly, I want to say thank you to Brian and Dan Real Estate. Brian and Dan, Silicon Valley Real Estate. Dan has been a huge fan of PodCats, and we're also sponsoring the show. And lastly, then, the brokerage that we work for, which is Christie's International Real Estate Sereno, formerly known as Sereno Group, has been a massive sponsor. Everybody should be using Sereno. Christie's International Sereno, the best brokerage here in Los Gatos, bar none. Thank you again for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And now we're going to get you back to the show. I got a list of questions, and we got 15 minutes left at the most.
I know.
We're already over.
I have questions too.
Oh, you got questions?
No, you go.
I'll talk less. Let's go. Rapid fire.
I want to get this fake ID thing out of the way.
Yeah.
Is it possible for somebody to get into your store with a fake ID?
So we use the most stringent. ID
short
possible.
answer.
So we use Veriscan. We use multiple different ID checkpoints. To our intent,
But that didn't answer my question.
Yeah.
Is it possible for somebody to get into your
speaking, anything is possible. I mean, we scan, we run things.
Every
marginal answer.
Yeah, well, I'm a marketing guy here. But no, listen. If someone invents the perfect technology, it can always beat it.
But do you know if that technology exists?
The technology to what?
Create a fake ID where I could come in as somebody else.
I'm sure it is possible. I will tell you.
Do you know a website?
He'll know more when his kids are 18.
Yeah, I'm sure. It sounds like I will.
18.
I gotta watch out for the feds, right?
Okay, that's a good enough answer.
The answer is there are multiple ID checks. We have greeters at the door. We have 24 hours.
And that's Airfield because you guys are probably doing it at a very high level, which is why they have a great spokesperson.
That is every state licensed facility. Everyone must have. You actually have to check an ID just to get onto the property. Technically,
before you
physically
set foot on the property.
Yeah. So in general, a properly identified property, there would never be a time you're there unless you're going up. So the majority of ID checks happen by a greeter at a door. But for example, on April 20th, 420, right, which is a very popular consumer
international holiday.
International holiday. We had there was an event there, an activation, all sorts of different things, and we actually and we worked with the police department on this specifically. We have a very close relationship with the police department. In fact, the San Jose Police Department has a live feed.
We're going down another. You got good answers and good answers, but I still want questions.
We set another checkpoint at another entry point, the only other entry point you could possibly have that had nothing to do. There was no cannabis at all over there. But
so you guys are putting checks that you feel are effective and safe to keep underage people out of your store.
There are,
and you feel that that's universal amongst the industry.
There is, because compliance is incredibly stringent.
Are there people out there? Is there an alcohol and beverage? What are they? It used to be the ABC. That would send in.
It is possible. You don't hear
shoppers?
It in California. Secret shopping. It's actually in the text of regulations.
So
the Department of Cannabis Control. I know a lot of people talk about this too. They say, "Oh, well, who's going to monitor it? Who's going to do it?" There are multiple levels of enforcement.
There's a Department of Cannabis Control.
Department of Cannabis. The DCC.
Are they DCC?
And the DCC is who handles licensing, who handles compliance, who handles a variety of things. Then there's obviously local PD. You have an incredibly close relationship. You have to. I mean, the San Jose Police Department has a live feed of every square inch of our building.
Shut up.
Yeah, of course.
Wait, they've got live cameras?
So every square inch of any cannabis building has to have full coverage, double secure backup, all the things you could imagine.
So they could just log in and look at what's going on.
Yeah,
and all that is being recorded and stored.
Oh, it has to be it has to be recorded.
For how long? What's the storage?
I'm the wrong person. I want it 90 days or 7 months, but I'm blanking right now.
Okay, that's okay.
I'm not the compliance guy.
Next question.
Do you have any do you have any pictures of Airfield that you could share with us?
Oh yeah, of course.
That we can post on the screen right now.
Yeah,
we're going to share just a couple pictures of Airfield, so people. Most of us don't know what it looks like. We don't go into dispensaries. We don't have any idea, and so what we think of is
1 in 7 in this town do.
Fair enough. But are they allowed to take pictures? Do you allow
you're
photography?
Not technically allowed to. If you clear it, you can.
But you'll send me a couple?
Oh, yeah, happy to.
Great, and we'll put those up on the screen right now. Describe the customers who come into your store, just briefly, like who are they?
Yeah. We see, honestly, everyone from young individuals that have just turned 21 that, treat it similar to, say, when they go out for their first time to a bar kind of thing.
Yeah.
That are, to cannabis tourists, to really, again, thousands
So they're
of
like,
people.
what's the equivalent of a Long Island iced tea?
Yeah, actually, who
Right?
that question is most asked by is 55 plus, of who we have a massive community. If you go in, and anyone listening, by the way, who is curious, especially in the town of Los Gatos, we're always happy. We did this with Los Gatos Democracy Tent. We had them out for a tour. We've done it with the town council. We'd be happy
Touring
to
the facility.
Yeah, tour the facility, show people around. So our facility is, and Airfield as a brand design has always been about creating an incredibly welcome and boutique experience. It's modeled after shopping at like a Nordstrom or shopping at a high-end boutique, a Bella Rosa in town kind of thing.
Do you have an espresso bar?
No, you're not allowed to have any other non-cannabis items. So we couldn't have water.
You can't tell, like T-shirts?
T-shirts, you can have t-shirts.
How about blacklight posters?
No, we don't have any blacklight posters. No, no. It's we're
disco balls.
Bit of different vibe.
Oh yeah, okay, got
more.
it.
I think more.
It's been a while for me.
Let's go back to the 55.
And articulated concrete.
55 plus women.
55 plus, yeah, 55 plus women. We see everyone. Every month, actually, obviously, we've got a lot of data, as you can imagine. We're seeing thousands of people a day. So the data that you can mine through is really fascinating. But pretty much every single month, since at least in the last 5 years, we have someone 90 plus who's coming in, at least, if not 10s or 20s, to very strong 65 crowd. Largest consumer base is sort of 30 to 50, both male and female, but it is everyone you imagine. It's individuals coming in looking for flower products. It's parents coming in looking for things to help relax them from long days at work. It's people coming in for aches. There's everything, and I think there's a lot of conception that obviously, yes, consumables are the major categories, but topicals, muscle aches, creams.
You can sell all those.
Athletes. Oh yeah, of course. Anything that's a cannabis derived product, not hemp derived.
You got one on the top of your head?
I mean, again, I kind of go for the personal things, personal questions.
I'm going to ask a yes or no question, then we're going to go. Is the smash and grab thing really an issue for you guys? And it's kind of just a yes or no question.
No.
Not a concern.
We've never had a break-in in 12 years.
Okay.
We had one attempted break-in one time. The person literally tried to hit a flashlight on the door. But we also have to have incredibly.
Yeah.
It's built like a bank. It's built like a vault inside a vault inside a vault on purpose.
I don't know if I like that part of it. That's funny. I mean, what's funny about it, I like that there is so much control over it, but it almost makes me then question it. It's like, why does it have to have so much control?
Because they don't want the young people getting their hands on it mistakenly.
I get that, but shouldn't we be doing the same thing, for that matter, with the liquor stores then? You should have, it's kind of weird.
It's often a matter of, in this case, it's a matter of it's a new industry, so over-regulation is the feeling of safety.
So you think that will relax over time?
It could. Frankly, if this is the cost of doing business, that's fine. For us, our number one goal is ensuring that every single person who's in there wants to be in there, feels comfortable, feels secure, gets the service they need from trusted products, which we haven't talked about that, but state license testing.
Yeah.
You can trace any product in a licensed cannabis dispensary back to the plant and where it was
There
from.
was just a recall recently.
Yeah, there's recalls from time to time, like any consumer
I'm not
packaged
trying to
good.
I'm not trying to
no, yeah, of course.
But I'm just saying they were able to look at
and we can
numbers.
tell you the exact, we can tell you the person who bought those 5 things if that ever happened to us.
Oh God, that's
and contact
scary.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but imagine that compared to the auto industry where they're like, hey, if you have a car this model, the brakes don't work. Hope you saw this. It's important. It's powerful. Like that data obligation goes 2 ways.
Or liquor, right? I can go in and buy a bottle of tequila, go get smashed, drive my car into a wall, and nobody knew where it came from. There's no culpability there. Personal question?
Personal question was, so you mentioned that you have 2 children. So they're going to become, they're going to get to high school pretty quick here. It goes a lot faster than you think. And then all of a sudden you're going to have to teach them well.
Yeah.
How are you going to teach them?
Yeah. It's obviously a question people ask a lot. For us, communication begins and education begins early and often. It's like anything else. Appropriate education is incredibly important. It's the exact same conversation.
Yeah, but
we'll have about alcohol.
She's asking, what are you going to say?
I'll tell you exactly what. Actually, I was having a talk about this the other day. We'll talk about it the exact same way as alcohol. Moderate consumption in the appropriate environment when you're of an appropriate age that it's safe for you. like that's a discussion and that's a decision you can make.
That sounded like a marketing officer.
No, it sounded like it's been rehearsed.
It sounds like somebody who has 2 kids and thinks about it a lot, actually. But I was talking about
moderate
this
consumption
at a school auction, and someone said to me, we were talking about how do you talk about it, and I do think it's one of those things. It is a stigma because people let it be. There should be no difference in the amount of discussion, the thoroughness, and the approach as it is to alcohol, or anything of the matter like that.
This has been my dialogue with my kids. Mm-hmm. Alcohol, drugs, whatever, probably not going to be an issue, unless, of course, you wind up doing it every single day, and it gets in the way of your relationships, and it gets in the way of the things that you want to accomplish, and it's kind of dragging your life down.
Well, and if you're doing it for the wrong reasons. I mean,
if
really,
you're doing it to cover something else up.
Yeah.
I mean, it can really get in the way if you're waking and baking and thinking that that's somehow going to provide you with a good life.
Yeah.
Waking and baking, by the way, is when you wake up and get high right away.
You never did
Was
that.
this like a method acting research situation? You got a lot of background.
I just want people. I don't know who's watching. I want them to know. He said wake and bake. What does wake and bake mean? Like big old doinks.
But I will say, people, you would be surprised how much misinformation or lack of information is out there. In this exact reason, I've actually had conversations and kept talking for 2-3 minutes, and they're like, wait, in the very beginning of that, you said something, and I didn't listen to anything else. And I was like, oh, God. Yeah.
We got just a couple more minutes. I want to ask one more question on it, and if you have one more, and then I want to give you a chance to kind of like summarize or close. Sure. But I'm curious, can you point to what you've done for the city of San Jose to give back?
Yeah.
I mean, are you able to like itemize that your participation in the betterment of the city of San Jose?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is something that's kind of built into the bedrock of the industry. Not just us, but literally everyone in this. And in fact, moving forward, it's something that is essentially baked into every single new dispensary that opens. So I can talk Redwood City in a second, but San Jose specifically, obviously beyond tax retributions, which are table stakes, but I mean, significant amount of nonprofit partnerships that we do there. Creek cleanings, toy drives, coat drives, local business partnerships. We have a very, very close relationship with the San Jose Downtown Association, where we do a lot of co-marketing together, putting on events, sponsorships, education opportunities. We do community engagement education. So we go to community centers throughout San Jose, and in fact, we've done some in Campbell and other places.
To educate them about marijuana?
Yeah, educate about safe usage.
But is the money? Are you guys putting efforts and money into something that doesn't relate to your topic?
Yeah. Well, actually, so talking about Redwood City on this, we in Redwood City, as a part of it, is there's a community benefits foundation, which is something that obviously if Los Gatos would get here is inevitably a piece of it.
Yeah.
But so there, our projection is we'll be donating 1%. Which is at least $150,000 up to $300,000 a year towards nonprofits that have absolutely nothing to do with us.
So people that are sheltering battered children, or people that need to be taught how to read, or that need housing after an economic.
So the focus for us in Redwood City is housing. Is one. So we've got 3 nonprofit partners in housing that focus on specifically transitional housing, low income housing. They work on a lot of grants and like ADU plans, like pre-made ADU plans for individuals that are trying to fast track an ADU for like having family and housing and those challenges. Transportation. So we're working with commute.org up there. They have Redwood City has a big focus on, they call it Vision Zero, so zero transportation related fatality. So we're working on public commuting efforts that obviously tie into our staff and potentially customers as well, but also just funding programs there. Then we're working with the Police Activities League, which is a police-funded youth organization. I was actually just with them yesterday in Redwood City, but they do a ton of after-school programs, art education, technology education.
And you guys are helping fund that?
Yeah. Okay. And then we also work with the Redwood City Education Foundation as well. And so we're just kicking off all these programs.
Basically giving money back to the schools,
giving money back as well as volunteer
hours. Like we have
an
education
foundation. I think we've committed 100 or so annual hours a year up there.
So basically, I'm going to be a little harsher here because, I mean, you're making it sound like you're kind of a little bit of a hero, right?
No.
I don't mean that. It's a business, right? And do you have some worries, or do you have? I mean, do you really not? Do you really walk the talk and like you really believe in your heart fully that this is good for any town and that the federal government should actually legalize it? And I mean, like, do you lose sleep over thinking about any part of this?
No, absolutely not.
He's some sort of arms dealer or something.
No, but So what else? definitely understand that stigma part of it, and I'm trying to kind of work through that. I mean, that's probably my own struggle of like, okay, like
fair.
like
And
a pot shop does to me look a little different than a liquor store or a beautiful wine
nicer.
shop, right?
But that's just familiarity.
I know, and it is. It could be familiarity because it's something I'm not used to.
You just grew up with
seeing.
alcohol shops.
I mean, I do, drive around Seattle, which is where I lived for a long time. We kind of drive by and like you kind of still look at the pot shops. You're like, oh my gosh, there's a pot shop right there.
Every time you drive by that green plus, you're like, oh my gosh.
Again, I'd invite anybody out to Airfield to see it, and if I actually think the chance that you would know that that's a dispensary from the outside is.
We should run a promotion. Can they come in and mention PodCats and get some sort of discount?
We could maybe work it out at the back end.
Yeah.
We'd get a few viewers that way, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you subscribe to our show.
but to your question, this is something that people overwhelmingly voted for. That can benefit cities from a financial perspective, from a nonprofit, an enrichment perspective. It's something that has shown time and time again. I mean, I cannot tell you the amount of people that have come up to me and told me that cannabis has helped them. And this to the question of, you go to a party, like how much does it come up? It's constantly. Versus the alternative to that. I mean, it's overwhelming. Is it a new industry? Absolutely. Is it one that requires a lot of nurturing to make sure that it's done the right way? I think that's something Los Gatos should be really proud of, in that the most successful dispensary in California was founded by a Los Gatos native who had a perspective on the appropriate kind of branding, the appropriate kind of way to design a building, and the appropriate kind of business to run that's built on customer service and quality and curation. So it's very easy to sleep at night when you know that you are often helping people do these things. It's not perfect, but
and I think it's probably honestly, I think it's a thin minority of people that I mean, really, we walk around. Not everybody's addicted to drugs, right? Not everybody is an alcoholic. Not everybody's life is falling apart because they're hooked on something or stashing a bottle of liquor in their sofa. I mean, that's just not the majority. It's a thin minority, right? And so it's got to apply. That's just got to be across the board. We're out of time. Have you said everything you want to say today?
Yeah. I think.
Cool.
I mean, obviously, we're happy to be a resource in this process.
Yeah.
It's like we said, it's a complicated process. I think there's a lot of information out there that can be shared, that can be good. We're obviously more than happy for anyone who's interested to come experience it. I think one of the stigmas people have, I think you said it. You don't go into these places. I think a lot of people think they're not welcome in there.
Or that they're going to be seen,
or that they're going to, or something.
Or you question yourself. Even. There's a little bit of like self.
I'm going to a pot shop, so do I have a problem?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You probably wouldn't experience that
because I know I have a problem.
I, on the other hand, don't have any problems.
I've already come to terms with that.
But I think experience it. If you're questioning it, like, go to one. Yeah. Walk in, ask questions of the staff, ask questions of the managers.
I'm going to walk in and say, hey, did Chris tell you I was coming?
Yeah. Great. Go for it. It feels good when people listen.
We got to wrap it up.
I'd hire him as a marketing officer, though, wouldn't you?
When we get, he's good. No,
when
this
we
is
get
why
really,
we invited him down.
Yeah, when we get really big and famous, on this podcast.
I get a coffee mug then?
Yeah, maybe we'd hire you for our marketing.
We're gonna get you a hoodie, a
Actually,
PodCats hoodie.
But we have David. David will probably move into that role, right?
Yeah.
Crew neck guy, but I'll go hoodie.
Okay, we might get you a crew neck. We want to thank you so much. We had some technical difficulties. You stuck around. Thank you for that. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your expertise. And I think that's it. And then Catherine, you're amazing. I just think you're so great. You did beautifully here, and I want to just congratulate you. I know we were both really nervous, and I think you did great.
You did pretty well.
I did okay. I think I did okay. I just
like the logo, by the way.
Don't you like the logo?
I do. I mean, I come from a design background, so I appreciate it.
Oh, it took me a long time. And so I appreciate that. We're going to get hoodies made. We're going to have merch for sale, PodCats, because we want to get the word out.
Yeah,
this is where the conversation's happening in Los Gatos. This is the conversation we're all going to be having and already having. And if you don't know where to go to have this conversation, you can come to PodCats and chime in, and eventually we're going to go live, and it's going to be super cool. So you did an amazing job. You guys did an amazing job, too. I've still got the other people here in the studio. Yeah. So I just want to say that's a wrap.
All right.
Cool.
That's a wrap.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. We're talking about selling pot here in, I say pot, everyone calls me old when I say pot. We're talking about selling weed here in Los Gatos, a dispensary, a marijuana dispensary in Los Gatos. Should it be allowed? Shouldn't it be allowed? That's the conversation.
That is. How do you feel about that?
I think, well, I want you guys to listen to the next episode so that you can determine whether or not, and then I want you to show up at the polls and vote, or come to a council meeting and voice your opinion, or just write in the comments below so we know who you are. Stop hiding in the shadows. Yeah? You.
Come together right now. Hit the ground running, ain't even a discussion. Hold up. Come together right now. Ain't no time for sleep. All we gotta do is come together.